for being on Hardtalk.
Thank you.
Hello there. Thursday is shaping up to be a bright but blustery day across all parts of the British Isles, and there'll be a lot of showers, if not some longer spells of rain, especially so across parts of western Scotland through Northern Ireland, maybe the northwest of England too. One or two spots in Northern Ireland and the eastern side of Scotland getting away to a dry enough start with some sunshine around, but the gusty wind will be there right from the word go. We could see gusts of around about 50 to 60 miles an hour across some of these exposed locations in the north. As we come away towards the southwest, perhaps fewer showers at this stage in proceedings. You will still notice the wind though, and as you're stepping out, because of the strength of the wind, and if you don't see too much in the way of sunshine, it will feel distinctly cool in the first part of the day. Now certainly as we're into the southeast, parts of East Anglia, maybe the East Midlands too, you will see fewer showers here in the first part of the day, no doubt about it, but don't get caught out. If you are stepping out for the whole day, well, this wind, which will be such a feature across many parts, especially across the northern half of the British Isles, will rip those showers ever further towards the east, such that by the middle part of the afternoon we'll see plenty again down in this southeastern corner across East Anglia too, and a top temperature of only 16 degrees. That's way below what we were experiencing just a few days ago. From Thursday into Friday, I think we'll find a ridge of high pressure just trying to push in from the southwest of the British Isles, and eventually that'll ease off some of the wind, and it'll also kill off some of the showers as well. And eventually, I think on Friday, the showers will be largely confined towards the western side of the British Isles. Out towards the east, we may well find just a little bit more in the way of sunshine, just a little bit more in the way of dry weather, but still a top temperature of only 16 degrees.
Great things happen when people come together. So in the run-up to London 2012, World Class are inviting schools across the world to partner up. Inspired by the Olympic spirit, pupils can reach out to each other across the globe to learn about life in another country, share ideas, and join in the excitement counting down to the Games. So twin your school for 2012. Go to bbc.co.uk World Class to find out how.
Hello and welcome to Newsday on the BBC. I'm Rico Hizon in Singapore.
I'm Chris Rogers in London. Here are the headlines. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple and the most successful businessman of his era, dies aged 56. Fighting for the future of the Eurozone, leaders prepare to prop up beleaguered banks as the IMF warns of a possible return to recession. Thousands join protests in New York and across the US amid mounting anger over the financial crisis.
Sarah Palin, the former governor of Alaska, rules out running in next year's presidential race. Sticking with Plan A, David Cameron says Britain can pull through the hard times if it doesn't flinch from the austerity program. It is 8 a.m. here in Singapore.
It is 1 a.m. here in London. Broadcasting to viewers in the UK and around the world, this is Newsday. Well, we start this hour with some breaking news. It was announced just a short time ago that the co-founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, has died. He was 56. In the 1970s, he helped bring the world personal computers. More recently, he was responsible for the iPod, iPhone and the iPad and has built Apple into the world's most valuable company. He'd been battling a rare form of pancreatic cancer.
We're going to make some history together today.
January 2007 and a classic Steve Jobs performance. A simple product launch turned into a major event by a man with a sense of theatre and a charisma rare in the technology world.
Good morning, Starbucks. How can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding.
The iPhone was, after all, just a phone, but its success was the latest triumph of a company which showed that good design was essential to good computing. The Apple story started at an amateur computing club, where in the early 70s Steve Jobs met Steve Wozniak, and they were soon working on their first computers. The Apple I looked a simple affair. The Apple II had graphics and eventually a colour screen. It was Wozniak who brought the engineering expertise, but it was Jobs who had the drive to turn Apple into a business.
He wanted a company. He wanted it to be successful. Everything it takes, phone calls and talking to people, finding out what else is going on, getting ads made, all the work that it takes to really just have a company that has a meaning and a vision.
We shall prevail. On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh.
It was in 1984 that Apple really changed the world with the launch of the Mac, the first personal computer to be navigated via a mouse. Steve Jobs' business was becoming more professional, hiring a senior executive from Pepsi to run the firm.
He looked up at me with these very penetrating eyes. He said, "Do you really want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life? Or do you want to come with me and change the world?"
But the partnership was to be short-lived. As Apple hit choppy waters, John Scully forced Steve Jobs out of the business he'd founded.
To infinity and beyond!
Away from Apple, Steve Jobs made a very astute investment, buying Pixar, the animation firm which went on to create films like Toy Story in a partnership with Disney. Pixar made Jobs rich, but in 1997 he returned to Apple, whose very survival was then in doubt. It was the iMac which signalled a resurgence, a computer which broke the mould by not looking like a beige box. But it was the arrival of the iPod that showed that Apple could move beyond computing. There'd been other MP3 players, but it soon dominated the market and built Apple a powerful position in the music industry. It all served to increase the devotion of those who saw Apple as far more than just a business, but as a movement with Steve Jobs as its leader.
Well, Steve Jobs is kind of the cult leader of Apple.
He's the figurehead behind it all. He is Apple.
He was the man who cared about what products looked like, not just what they did. Steve Jobs, a visionary who saw the power of digital technology to change the way we live.